So I'm going to run through my top 5 best class setups for Warzone, and I'm also going to explain how you can level up these individual weapons so you'll be able to get all of the various attachments. Because obviously if you just got the free version, which only includes the Warzone portion of the game, you won't be able to jump into multiplayer and level up the way that a majority of players have done up to this point. So I'm going to walk through all of that. If you do find the video helpful at all, let me know by hitting that like button. I do have a goal in today's video of 750 likes, so if you can help me out with that, I'd be very appreciative. And if you're brand new to the channel, would like to find your way back, definitely consider subscribing with notifications on so you can stay up to date with future Call of Duty content. Let's go ahead and get into the class setups. So I have these bottom ones assigned to the BR because the top ones I'm primarily going to use for multiplayer. So the first one I would recommend is the M4A1 assault rifle, and you can create whatever class you want. The class setup that I'm running is a monolithic suppressor, the Corvus custom barrel, the 60 round mag, stipple grip tape, and the GI mini reflex. Some of you guys could put on a little bit better optic if you want to have a little bit more additional zoom, because some of the gunfights will be at further ranges. If you want a little bit of extra range, you can actually do the M16 barrel, and if you want a little bit more mobility, you can go with no stock instead of having the monolithic suppressor. Just keep in mind that when you do fire your weapon, you're going to pop up on the mini map as well as the compass. So that's the first class setup, and I combo this with a sniper rifle, and right now I'm using the HDR. The AX50 is completely fine as well. It really comes down to preference, and the class setup I use is the 26.9 inch HDR barrel, the 7 round mag, so I don't have to reload as often, so I can just line up the shot, continue to fire. The scope I am using is this bottom thermal scope, so you're gonna have to level up this weapon if you want to take advantage of that. That is probably the most overpowered attachment in the entire game. I've talked about it in the previous video where literally you put on the thermal and you can scout across the entire map and you can spot individuals significantly far away that when you zoom out, you have no clue they are there. So I would try and unlock that scope as quick as possible on either the HDR or the AX50, whichever you prefer. Then for the stock, I use the FTAC Stalker Scout, and then I use Focus, because when you're getting fired at, you want a little bit of flinch resistance. So you have that shot line up, you'll at least be able to hit the target before you get behind cover and re-put your plates in so you can come back to 100% full health, full armor. When it comes to perks, it's really gonna come down to preference, but I'm gonna give you some tips. Cold-blooded is probably one of the more powerful perks in the game because of the same reason that I just mentioned earlier. If you just pan across with that thermal scope, you're going to be able to spot enemies and you're going to be able to get an easy pick, and they're not gonna know where you're at because with that scope, it does not have a glint that gives away your individual location. So they'd have to know where they were getting shot from based off the hit marker, or they just saw where the bullet came in from. So cold-blooded is a good counter to that. It's obviously not perfect because you'll be able to see them still, but they're not going to be this white glowing light that is just running around the map. I wouldn't really use much else. I think double time's cool if you just want that faster mobility. If you're trying to get a lot of kills and just run around quick, that's a good way to go. Quick fix is good if you want to be able to recover health if you're going to take on multiple engagements, and 1 health bar, which is just that 100 health, typically is not going to be enough to go against someone that has full health, full body armor. So it might not help in a lot of scenarios because you don't get into that many gunfights. So that one's really comes down to your play style. Overkill is a good way to go just because you get the 2 weapon choices literally from dropping in, but you could go different routes whether or not you're going to buy 2 of those stations, so you could buy 1 weapon and then swap over and get the other. But one of the benefits with this is that you can actually combine other perks so that not everyone has to run the exact same thing. One example of that is you can run Point Man so that when you do missions, you'll actually get more money. And that's combined because literally everyone on your team will get more money. So that's a good thing for at least one person to have. And then Ghost, obviously, that helps when people call on UAVs. High Alert's pretty cool because if you're running around, you at least know someone's looking at you. And that does have a considerably large radius. I think it's around 100 meters. So if you are being seen beyond 100 meters, it will not go off. So that's just something to keep in mind with High Alert. If someone is sniping you, odds are they're going to be beyond 100 meters. So if somebody runs Point Man, you can actually combine that with Hardline so that you can give that money to one individual and then they'll purchase all the different various streaks. So if they want to buy a UAV, they can call it in. They can call them multiple. Everything's more affordable if they want to go ahead and go through those various options to save that cash. But again, case by case. So that's it for that category. When it comes to perk 3, I don't really see a lot that is really good. If you want to pick people up faster, keep in mind that this is only 25% faster. So instead of requiring it to take about 5 seconds, it'll be right around 4. So it shaves off 1 second, which could or could not make a big deal. It really comes down to what happens in the scenario. But the odds that this is actually going to help you out is very small, at least in my opinion. Amped is really good because if you're gonna go ahead and use that overkill combination, you can swap weapons faster, so that's a good way to go. So the last one I'd recommend is Tracker, because a lot of times people run into a building, you can actually follow their track, see which direction they went, and having more intel is always an advantage when it comes to a battle royale, because the person with the most information typically ends up putting themselves in the best position to win those gunfights and eventually win those matches. When it comes to lethal, you can use whatever you want. I like the Semtex just because a lot of times if I down someone, I can throw the nade directly at that spot. It's going to go off rather quickly before they can actually get out of the way. So one, I confirm the kill. If the teammate went to try and help them out, hopefully that will do enough damage to position myself to close the gap and get in position to win those gunfights. Thermites are okay because you can kind of block an area. Claymore, a little cheesy, but a lot of those you're going to be able to get within the match, so it's not a huge deal. I don't really think any of these are super effective except for maybe the heartbeat sensor, because if you know someone's in a building, you can scan the area really quick, and if you get a ping within about 20 or 25 meters, you'll at least know that there's someone in that general direction, so your team can rush that building with a little bit more confidence. But obviously this can be countered by Ghost. All right, so class setup number 2, I'm not going to go through all the perk stuff again, I'm just going to go through the weapons, is the AUG. Personally, I'm a huge fan of the AUG. This is actually my #1 KD weapon within multiplayer using this particular class setup. I use the monolithic suppressor, the 407mm barrel, the commando foregrip, the 60 round 5.56 drum, as well as stippled grip tape. And that's the class setup I run with it. If you want an optic, you could probably drop the stippled grip tape. It is going to feel a little bit slower, but that's just something you got to trade off if you're trying to hit targets at range. The next one is the Growl 5.56, and the one I like to run is the monolithic suppressor, the Archangel. Even though it's going to be slower, it's going to give you that additional range. And one thing to keep in mind with the barrel, it will change the iron sights compared to the default. So each of the 3 different barrels will give you completely different iron sights. So it's just something to be aware of. I like the Merc foregrip, the 50 round mag, and the XRK Void 2. So you kind of see all that there. So class setup I run with the PKM is that compact barrel, the snatch grip, the 200 round belt, as well as stippled grip tape and no stock. This one's still very accurate with this individual attachments, but the reason why I like this particular setup is because there's sometimes you'll get bought in really late, or you win the gulag and you're like one of the last people before it closed. You drop in and then there's those different loadout drops that are landing in. A lot of times, if you drop in and you grab one of your other loadouts, it's not going to be enough ammo to take out multiple people. So this one's your good backup that when you land in, you can grab that and you'll still be able to take out 5-6 people, completely down them, finish them off, and you shouldn't need to reload in that span as long as you're able to hit your shots. Versus with a lot of the other weapons, you're probably only going to get maybe 2 people down, reloading or not have enough ammo, and then you're going to get caught kind of in a bad scenario where you're able to get destroyed. So it's just something to keep in mind. I would have this one as a backup for those rare cases where you're coming in late, you're able to get to those loadout drops, get into those gunfights without worrying about your ammo. Next one is the Bison, and this one actually is probably one of my favorite setups. And the best class setup for the Bison is the monolithic suppressor, the 8.7-inch steel barrel, the stippled grip tape, sleight of hand so you can get back into the engagements. Obviously you could go the 84 round mag instead, but it's just really one of those trade-offs. I don't think you'll ever run out of ammo in a gunfight when you're going that route. It kind of ends up filling that void the same way that I was talking about with the PKM, but obviously get a little more mobility because it is an SMG. And this one happens to be probably the favorite, like I said. And then the Corvus Skeleton stock is the finishing off that class setup. So those are pretty much the top 5 class setups that I would recommend. Obviously, you get the M4 pretty early. The FAL is a great option if you're low level and you haven't unlocked anything else yet. Great part about SMGs is you can get the AUG right away. MP5 is pretty cool. I don't think it's great in this mode, but it is good when you get in those close quarters. And then normally you can get an MP7 as floor loot. That's probably the best floor loot weapon in my opinion, besides the SCAR. Obviously those are probably the most 2 common, but both of those deal pretty good damage. This one's very low recoil on the MP7 that'll allow you to win those gunfights and hopefully move on with the mobility, get around corners, whatever you need. As far as shotguns go, R9's a great pickup off the floor if you have to pick up something. LMGs, PKM is first. So if you're looking to level something up right off the bat, your lower level, PKM is a great choice to at least get your foot in the door so you can get one of those creative classes that'll help you out. Because the default ones, there are some good ones. There is a PKM one in that default one, but based off what I've told you, you can kind of make an educated decision on which class setup is going to be best suited for your playstyle. So to level up these weapons, if you're brand new to the game, you're not 152 like I am currently, you're going to end up having to level up from level 1. If you barely got the game, you've only put in a little bit of time. Luckily, we have some double XP, double weapon XP, double tier. We basically have everything that allows you to level up as fast as possible. I would try to level up as many weapons as you can during this time from the list that I've made here, and that should allow you to at least get started making these class setups. And then once you get these going, you're just gonna level them up over time. You can continue using them in the regular BR, but I would recommend going into Plunder, setting up this individual class, even if you don't have a ton of attachments, just to get it leveled up, so that when you jump into the Battle Royale, you jump on the loadout drop, you will be able to get your loot. And when you go into Plunder, just focus on kills. Don't worry about the actual objective. Just focus going around, trying to level up the weapon by getting kills. And that is the advice I would give for anyone new coming into Warzone. If you did enjoy the video, let me know by hitting that like button. If you are brand new to the channel and you haven't yet subscribed, definitely consider subscribing. Especially if you made it to this point in the video, you probably enjoyed the content in some way. And if you did, make sure you do subscribe with those notifications on. I do appreciate all the support on the channel. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a great day.